The Zobe Disease, also called the Immortality Disease, is a mysterious sickness, and one of the 5 threats that humanity met in the Dark Continent. It can be contracted southeast of the known world. Approximately 50 years before the current events of the series, the Kukan-Yu Kingdom embarked on an expedition to the Dark Continent, searching for the alchemical plant Metallion, which we'll be discussing later. Guided by Beyond Nitro, the party of hunters and expedition members were successful in obtaining it. However, they became lost on the way back, and took a wrong turn, leading to some of its members contracting the Zobe Disease. Of the entire expedition team, hunters included, only Beyond and 5 others survived, along with a hunter infected by the disease. And worst of all, the plant they obtained withered and died. Not much is known about the Zobe disease. The current chairman of the Hunter Association, Yorkshire, proclaimed that his danger rank is B+, which is even higher than the Chimera Ants were, sitting at rank B. The sickness seems to have a high fatality rate, seeing as how out of all the members of the expedition who contracted it, only 1 managed to survive. The only known survivor, also a hunter, obtained the remarkable ability to live entirely self-sufficient and without sustenance for many years, essentially becoming immortal. However, self-sufficiency can only be achieved through feeding on one's own flesh, while the disease greatly accelerates the regeneration of tissues. This leads to an endless cycle of self-consumption. As seen by the only living infected human, this process breaks the mind of the person, to the point that they simply become a mindless zombie. It is also possible that, among other symptoms, it causes their skin to turn dark in color. It is still unknown how this disease is contracted, and there is no known cure. Brion, known as the Botanical Weapon, is a mysterious being and, like Zobe, is one of the 5 threats. It's located in a labyrinth city, about 400 kilometers from the edge of a forest north of Lake Mobius. Brion appears as a large sphere on top of a human body where the head should be, making it kind of look like that guy Let Me Solo Her from Elden Ring. However, the stats of the 5 threats confirms that Brion is a species or taxonomic group, rather than a single entity. This is further proven when we get a glimpse of some of the victims of the various threats. One victim can be seen missing a head, with their insides hanging out of their abdomen. When the United States of Saherta sent their elite forces on an expedition to the Dark Continent, they went through the north of Lake Mobius, and ended up in a sea of trees. After traveling through this terrain for 400 kilometers, they found the ruins of an ancient city, with a mysterious labyrinth. It was there that they found a miracle herb that can cure almost any illness. Unfortunately for them, this is also where they met Brion, the guardian of the ruins, who completely decimated them, leaving only 2 survivors. The fact that Brion is located in an ancient city makes it possible that this is a sign that humans once lived in this area, and were taken out by the threat long ago. Not much is known about Brion's abilities, but Yorkshire proclaimed that it's a danger rank of B+, which, like Zobe, is higher than that of the Chimera Ants. And really quick, if you enjoy straight to the point informative content revolving anime and manga without any sorts of fluff like in this video, then make sure to subscribe because that's pretty much all we have here, and we post all the time. But anyway, Hellbell, the twin-tailed snake, is a mysterious snake-like being that is one of the 5 threats. It lives in the swamplands of the Dark Continent, situated south of Lake Mobius. Hellbell is a snake-like creature with 2 tails. Its distinguishing feature is a large, black lump resembling a bell, from which it gets its name. The skin of its neck up to the black lump from which the tail sprout looks twisted in texture. When the Federation of Ochima did an expedition to the Dark Continent, searching for Nitro rice, a type of food that increases longevity, the expedition group went through the south of Lake Mobius, and ended up in a wild swampland. There, 99% of them fell prey to Hellbell, leaving only 11 people surviving the attack. Hellbell is said to infect its prey with homicidal desire. According to Don Freecss, the threat level of Hellbell is B+. However, the current chairman of the Hunter Association, Yorkshire, proclaimed that his danger rank has been raised from B+ to A, higher than the Chimera Ants and the other 2 threats we've covered so far. It's likely that when the Federation of Ochima came into its territory, Hellbell infected one or several of the 1,100 plus people, and the infected party went on to take out the other travelers in a murderous rage. It's not clear how Hellbell infects its targets, but it's possible that it could either be through a bite, or by creating a certain sound frequency like a rattlesnake. It is currently unknown if Hellbell is a single creature or a species. I, a gaseous life form, is a small creature shrouded in darkness, and is one of the 5 threats. It lives south-southwest of Lake Mobius, but some of its victims have been also found in the known world. Little is known about Ai's appearance, but it seems to be a gaseous lifeform with limb-like appendages extending from its main body. Its name seems to derive from the sound it makes when it speaks. Some time ago, the Mimbo Republic enlisted the help of the Hunter Association and sent an expedition team to the Dark Continent in search of the Trinity Elixir, and at some point, they encountered Ai. After a still unknown dispute or struggle ensued, only 3 survivors returned. Even worse, the few survivors had gone completely insane. While it's said to have been locked up after being brought back from the Dark Continent, there have been victims of Ai found within the known world. Not much is stated about Ai's abilities, but according to the Hunter Association's Dangerous Creatures Evaluation list, Ai merits a threat level of A, on par with Hellbell. The deaths caused by Ai in the known world may be the work of Nanika through Alakazoldyck, as she was revealed to have originated in the Dark Continent, and she shares many similarities with Ai. This means that a potential ability that Ai has is the power to grant any wish, much like Nanika can do. Nanika's victims are either squashed or wrung to death if her requests are refused. Some of the ascertained victims of the 5 threats were killed in the exact same way. Nanika's possession of Aluka, her wish to please others, and her devotion to Killua could be related to Ai's description as the codependence of desire. Pap, known as the human-keeping beast, is a mysterious creature that feeds on humans and keeps them as pets, and is the last of the 5 threats we'll be discussing. It lives in a Dark Continent mountain range, along the northeast shore of Lake Mobius, but some of its victims have also been found in the known world, suggesting this threat is loose somewhere in the human realm. Pap's true appearance is still unknown, but it seems to be able to sprout feelers, which it inserts in the skulls of its human victims. When the Bezrose Union sent 1,000 people on an expedition to the Dark Continent, they entered through the north of Lake Mobius, and secured a route inside the rugged mountain range. There they found a miracle mineral called Unmanned Rock. However, that zone was also the territory of Pap. Of the 1,000 people, only 7 of them managed to make it out alive. Some of its victims that were found in the known world are also secretly stored in the basement of the International Permit Agency. According to the Hunter Association's Dangerous Creatures Evaluation list, Pap merits a danger rank of A. Its victims are shrunk to the size of dolls, and have a flesh-like tube connected to the top of their heads. The creature's full title reads, a trade-off between life and pleasure, which relates to its twisted ability of feeding on humans and keeping them as pets, while putting the victim in a state of euphoric bliss, essentially making them enjoy the fact that they are slowly being killed. Since multiple sets of eyes were shown during its description in chapter 341 of the manga, Pap might be a species rather than a single creature. The Pap's ability to shrink its victims is likely based on the tradition of creating shrunken heads, which has religious significance to some indigenous tribes. It is believed that shrinking the head of one's enemy can harness their spirit and compel them to serve their shrinker. Chimera ants are extremely dangerous insects, designated quarantine level 1, also known as gourmet ants. Due to carefully selecting their food, they have voracious appetites, and can consume several times their own weight in a single day. It is not uncommon for chimera ants to devour their preferred fodder species to extinction. In general, not even chimera ant queens become bigger than 10 centimeters, but gigantic chimera ant queens, over 2 meters tall, can be found in the Dark Continent. The Hunter Association classified the colony led by Meruem as a B-level threat. Chimera ant queens possess an entirely unique method of reproduction, known as phagogenesis, a term meaning reproduction through consumption. By eating other creatures, a chimera ant queen can impart the characteristics of ingested creatures onto the next generation of chimera ants it gives birth to. For example, if a queen ate a bird, the offspring might be born with wings. Furthermore, if the queen devours multiple different species in a single sitting, then the offspring will have the genes and characteristics of those multiple species. If the queen devoured a bird, turtle, and a goat, the offspring might have a combination of wings, a turtle shell, and a goat head. However, regardless of what traits they possess, chimera ants are still ultimately insects. The queen can produce up to 5 eggs with one meal. Chimera ants have been known to feed until the fodder species is driven to extinction in its ecosystem to take full advantage of the genes of a particular species. Humans in particular are known to be extremely nutritious fodder for chimera ant queens, with Zazan speculating that humans who can use Nen have the nutritional value of 1,000 ordinary humans. Due to this unique method of reproduction, each generation of chimera ants is profoundly different from the one that came before it, and even individual ants from the same generation exhibit profound genetic differences, which are expressed through their unique appearance. After the chimera ant invasion of NGL, most of the remaining hybrid ants were given classification as magical beasts, giving them permission to inhabit the human realm. This excludes an army of 5,000 ant hybrids that were created using one of Shiapoof's abilities, in which humans are put into a cocoon and reborn as ants with Nen abilities. These ants were recovered on Pariston Hill's order soon after the conflict. What will become of these ants is yet to be seen. Metallion is one of the 5 great known treasures of the Dark Continent. Metallion is known as the alchemical plant for its ability to change the properties of precious metals. In theory, Metallion has the ability to change the properties of any base metal into valuable ones, like gold or silver. The power of such a plant could turn a third world country into the richest in the world overnight. This is why at some point in the past, the Kukan-Yu Kingdom sent an expedition team to recover the miracle plant. Unlike any other recorded voyage to the Dark Continent, the team managed to actually locate and recover what they were looking for. Unfortunately, the team led by Nitro somehow got lost on the way back and wandered into an area where most of the team caught the Zobe Disease, leaving only 6 survivors including Nitro and an infected hunter being held in captivity by the Hunter Association. Some even speculate that Nitro sabotaged the returning mission on purpose, arguing that there was no way an elite hunter like him could even get lost in the first place if he had already managed to get them to their destination in the first place. The reason behind this treason is unknown, and this is all of course merely speculation. The herb for all illness is yet another miracle plant from the Dark Continent, and one of its 5 discovered treasures. It's believed to have unique medical properties that can cure over 10,000 known illnesses. It's a plant that not only could save countless lives, but from an economic standpoint, could bring unimaginable wealth to any nation that's able to obtain it. With this in mind, the United States of Saherta sent their elite forces on an expedition to the Dark Continent in search of it. After traveling 400 kilometers through a sea of trees, they found the ruins of a mysterious labyrinth city. It was there that they discovered the herb, but also unfortunately met Brion, the guardian of the ruins. Using its unknown abilities, it easily killed the entire elite squad, aside from 2 survivors that returned with little sanity left. It's also worth noting that it's been implied that the herb of all illness is a target for the current expedition to the Dark Continent. This is because after boarding the ship, we see an official from the International Permit Agency named Steiner brushing up on the real destination of the Dark Continent expedition, the Labyrinth City. This of course being the very city where the plant and Brion were encountered. Nitro rice is a grain found in the swamplands of the Dark Continent and is one of its 5 known treasures. It's known as the ultimate secret to longevity, said to be able to extend one's lifespan far past that of a regular human. For obvious reasons, it's a grain that could single-handedly revolutionize humanity, leading it to become the target of the Federation of Ochima, which once sent an expedition team that landed in the swamps of Lake Mobius, where the grain is located. However, this is also where they encountered Hellbell and were almost entirely wiped out. What's interesting about this particular Dark Continent treasure is that it's been theorized to be the reason Isaac Nitro was able to live so long and still be in excellent physical shape up until his death. No confirmed age has been attributed to Nitro, but it's possible that he was even centuries old before his death. This claim is further backed up by the fact that Nitro had once traveled to the Dark Continent with Zig Zoldyck and Lynn Hors d'oeuvre, both of which are still alive. Nitro rice is also said to be responsible for the 300-year-long survival of Don Freecss, who we'll be discussing a little bit later. Although this is merely speculation by Jing Freecss, he argues that Don is still traveling along the coast of the Dark Continent. Again though, neither of these theories have been confirmed in the series. The Trinity Elixir is located on the southern shores of Lake Mobius and is one of the 5 treasures known to exist in the Dark Continent. Little is known about its properties, but it's said to be the mother solution of all sorts of liquids. In theory, this could mean that the Trinity Elixir can be used to create liquids like fresh water and essential fuels, both of which are precious resources for any nation. This is why the Mimbo Republic sent a team of elite Hunter Association members to retrieve it, in hopes of making them a dominant superpower in the world. However, the south shores of Lake Mobius is also where the gaseous creature Eye resides, leading to a still unknown dispute that led to the deaths of nearly every person there, save for 3 survivors that returned without any shred of sanity. Unmanned rock is found in the mountain ranges of the northeastern shore of Lake Mobius, and is the last of the 5 known treasures found on the Dark Continent that we'll be discussing today. It's known as the Inexhaustible Stone, and a mineral ore said to have truly revolutionary properties. This rare mineral is said to generate electricity when submerged underwater. Incredibly, a mere pebble of this rock can generate as much as 20 megawatts of power per day. To put that into perspective, the average North American home uses 1.39 megawatts of power per day. This means that a single bead of unmanned rock can power up to 10 homes for an entire day, or a single home for almost 3 weeks. This is clearly a resource that can send humanity into an unparalleled era of growth and prosperity, as the cost and availability of energy would be completely revolutionized. This is why the Bezrose Union attempted to retrieve the stone, but of the 1,000 people they sent, only 7 survived an encounter with one of the 5 threats, known as PAP, and returned empty-handed. As seen through the Dark Continent map and the various recorded expeditions, signs that humans once inhabited this land are pretty evident. Simply looking at the aforementioned Dark Continent map, we can see the ruins of man-made structures that resemble buildings sprinkled throughout the landscape. Along with these buildings, there appear to be unique and massive man-made structures, such as a large coliseum, and even a city floating in the sky. If the size of these structures are relative to the size of the known world shown in the map, they appear to be colossal in size, with the floating city alone being the size of a whole nation in the human realm. Even the large crater in the center of the map is large enough to engulf every single nation in the known world. Another interesting detail is that one of the land birds on the map bears a resemblance to the Pico, which is a large land bird that was used by the Kurta clan. This fuels the speculation that the Kurta clan are actually leftovers from the original humans that settled in the known world, in the center of Lake Mobius, in order to escape the unrelenting environment of the Dark Continent. The name Dark Continent itself is a reference to the name given to sub-Saharan Africa in the 19th century. This was due to the little knowledge people had of this land at the time, believing it to be a continent filled with dangerous creatures and unknown mystical treasures. Considering that many believe that humans originated in Africa and migrated to the rest of the world, this could be a clue that the humans in the known world of HunterxHunter originated in their version of the Dark Continent as well. Taking another look at the Dark Continent map, one can clearly see that a large assortment of mind-boggling monsters sit atop the food chain of this unforgiving terrain. Before even entering the Dark Continent, the waters surrounding its shores are inhabited by colossal sea creatures, each of them the size of entire nations. Once on the mainland, things don't get much better. As seen when Isaac Netero's unofficial voyage there was referenced, even creatures that could dominate the known world are prey to the incomprehensibly massive monsters that truly rule there. These include behemoth sandworms, flying beastly insects, and even a species of humanoid monsters that can be seen towering in the back half of the map. It seems that the farther one travels into the mainland of the Dark Continent, the more hellish the landscape and massive the creatures become. It is also said that magical beasts originated from the Dark Continent as well, and is of course the original home to the Chimera Ants. The new continent is an uninhabited island located in the uncharted waters of Lake Mobius, and outside the territory colonized by mankind thus far. In the world of HunterxHunter, the known territory colonized by mankind is located in the center of the enormous Lake Mobius, itself being located in the center of the Dark Continent. A far ocean boundary lies in Lake Mobius between the colonized territories and the Dark Continent, and encloses a neutral zone. The neutral zone itself is separated into territorial waters, where all of humanity's normal navigation and fishing takes place, along with uncharted waters. This is where the new continent is. This mysterious land is believed to be much safer than that of the Dark Continent, which is why the V6 passed it off as the actual Dark Continent for the public at large who sought to travel there with the Kakin Empire. The Gatekeeper is a race of magical beasts that guard the only known safe pathway to the Dark Continent. Without them, it would be impossible for humans to get past the known world's oceanic borders, since as we just covered a minute ago, they are infested with crazy sea creatures. Travelers who wish to enter the Dark Continent must be accompanied by a guide, which is summoned by the Gatekeeper through unknown means. The job of the guide is to ensure the safe return from the voyage. However, the guide is also tasked with sending the returning party back to the known world with one of the 5 threats if their mission ends in failure. This is done to deter the world from traveling there altogether. Don Freecss is the supposed author of Journey to the New World, a traveler's journal about the Dark Continent. Given his name, he's also presumably an ancestor of Jing and Gon. Over 300 years ago, Don traveled to the Dark Continent and wrote a journal consisting of 2 volumes, East and West. While the East edition is in the hands of the V6, the West edition was never found. According to Jing, there are 3 possibilities to explain this. It has yet to be found, it was never written, or Don is still currently working on writing it, which would suggest that he is still alive. This would be possible through the consumption of Nitro rice, which dramatically increases one's lifespan, and the herb of all illness, which would allow Don to avoid sickness during his travels, both of which are cataloged in the Journey to the New World East edition, meaning Don is well aware of their location and benefits. So that does it for our breakdown of every single Dark Continent mystery. I think all the Dark Continent lore is super cool and interesting, and I hope we eventually get more information on this insane place. In general, HunterxHunter is filled with tons and tons of stuff worth explaining, so if you enjoyed this HunterxHunter content, then make sure to let us know in the comments below what you want us to cover next, and the comment with the most likes will get the next HunterxHunter video. In the meantime though, click the video you see on your screen right now to learn about every single curse technique in Jujutsu Kaisen, so we'll see you there.